Hey guys, welcome back to Gatsu Gaming. Today we're talking Assassination Rogue. For those of you that don't know, Assassination Rogue is the really fun spec where you get to make your target bleed, and then you poison them, and then you spam some abilities, and next thing you know they're dead on the floor. Assassination Rogue is super bursty, and is actually in a very good place in Battle for Azeroth. So let's take a quick look at the talents. So here in the talents, not a ton has changed for Assassination, except for, of course, for the bottom row, which is very different now. But let's go ahead and start up at the top here. So we have Master Poisoner. This increases the damage done by your weapon poisons by 30%, and their non-damaging effects by 20%. In the middle, we have Elaborate Planning, which causes your finishing moves to grant 10% increased damage done for 4 seconds. Then after that, of course, we have Blindside. Blindside is a new ability for us. It exploits the vulnerability of foes with less than 30% HP, dealing physical damage to the target. It awards 1 combo point. Mutilate has a 25% chance to make your next Blindside free and usable on any target regardless of their health. Blindside is essentially our Execute. Mutilate is basically what we want to use all the time, and then Blindside whenever we get procs. When we hit that 30% health mark, though, it is definitely okay to use Blindside. It is super strong. For reference, Mutilate is 1150 damage baseline, whereas Blindside is 1577. But again, Mutilate will get you 2 combo points, and Blindside will get you 1. So, pick your poison, so to speak. Right now, as far as I know, Blindside is actually the pick on both live with the pre-patch, as well as here on beta. It is pretty awesome in general. Level 30 row here, we have our stealth modifications. We have Night Stalker. While stealth is active, you move 20% faster, and your abilities deal 50% more damage. This is absolutely great when you're leveling. That extra movement while you're stealth is just great. You actually move almost as fast as you would if you were not stealth, so it helps you get around quicker, and of course, your opening burst is going to do a ton more damage. Subterfuge right now is the current talent pick, as far as I know here. Your abilities requiring stealth can still be used for 3 seconds after stealth breaks. It also causes your Garrote to deal 100% increased damage and have no cooldown when used from stealth, and for 3 seconds after you break stealth. Garrote, of course, is probably your strongest dot from stealth, period, because of Subterfuge, for sure. So you always want to make sure that whenever you're running Subterfuge, you probably want to open up with a Mutilate, and then immediately hit your Garrote right after, just so you get the most out of your Subterfuge. Then we have Master Assassin. While stealth is active, and for 3 seconds after breaking stealth, your crit chances increase by 50%. This essentially gives us the legendary shoulder effect from Legion, except it's slightly weaker, but with 50% crit, I mean, you probably have at least 1% crit, I would guess, probably. It's impossible not to have more than 1% crit, I'd like to throw that out there. So this here basically gives you an almost guaranteed crit on your opener. It is just not the guaranteed 100%, which is completely fine. So then here at 45, we have our energy gen or combo point generation, depending on how you look at it here. So we have Vigor, increases your maximum energy by 50 and your energy regeneration by 10%. Big thing, especially early on, is that our energy generation rate is going to be pretty low, just starting out. So Vigor is pretty much the only talent you can really grab, especially when you're doing dungeons and things like that. It's just, you need that energy generation. Now, alternatively, you could take Marked for Death. This marks the target, getting you 5 combo points on a 30-second cooldown, and as long as that target dies within 1 minute, this comes off of cooldown. This thing is super, super useful, again, when you're leveling, just because you're typically soloing mobs anyway, and typically a March for Death, followed by an opening Mutilate from stealth with Subterfuge, will pretty much kill anything. Very rare that it doesn't. And then, of course, we have Deeper Stratagem. This, of course, will give us up to 6 combo points. Your finishing moves consume up to 6 combo points, and your finishing moves deal 5% increased damage. This is great at higher gear levels, where you can actually get those extra combo points up more often. Early on, though, this is pretty undesirable, as you're just not going to have the generation you need to reach 6 combo points. At least not reliably while maintaining your dots and things like that. Level 60 row, this is our survivability row. While leveling, you'll probably take leeching poison. Just having 10% leech is pretty crazy. 10% leech is a lot. That is way more than you think it is, especially in the grand scheme of things. Just 10% of your damage always healing you is just, it's great. This is great for survivability. If you're going to do anything where you have a chance of dying, death is definitely the way to go, though. Fatal attacks will reduce you to 7% of your max health instead. And for 3 seconds afterwards, you take 85... Oh, no. Appears I've DC'd. We'll be right back! Alright, so we're back now. So cheat death, fatal attacks instead reduce you to 7% of your max health. For 3 seconds afterwards, you take 85% reduced damage. This can only trigger once every 6 minutes. Dying, of course, will reset this. Elusiveness, Feint also reduces all damage you take from non-area of effect attacks by 30% for 5 seconds. Elusiveness is great when there's consistent AoE damage. If for some reason leeching poison wouldn't beat that out, Elusiveness will cover you. 75 row here, we have Internal Bleeding. Kidney Shot also deals up to 3,705 bleed damage over 6 seconds, based on combo points spent. Now keep in mind that Kidney Shot dealing that much damage over 6 seconds is absolutely huge. That's a massive, massive number. When you consider that a 5 combo point Rupture will do about 6,000 damage over 24 seconds, Internal Bleeding is essentially, it's about a 3 combo point Rupture damage, but it's over 6 seconds instead of 16, so that's pretty crazy. Internal Bleeding is nuts. Iron Wire increases the duration of Garrot's silence effect by 3 seconds. Enemies affected, or rather silenced by your Garrot, deal 15% reduced damage for 8 seconds. Iron Wire, I believe, is just really good in PvP. I'm never going to deny that. But I'm not sure which one you would take for PvP, because again, I don't PvP all that much. Lastly here we have Prey on the Weak. Enemies disabled by your Cheap Shot or Kidney Shot take 10% increased damage from all sources for 6 seconds. Prey on the Weak is great in groups. However, right now, Internal Bleeding just does tons of damage. This will probably beat out any little bit of extra damage your group's going to get. Maybe? It just depends on the mob. Level 90 row here, we have this is one of our biggest DPS rows for sure. We have Venom Rush, which Mutilate refunds 5 energy whenever used against a poison target. This is good for energy regen if you're having regen issues or you're not a fan of the Toxic Blade or Exsanguinate playstyles. Venom Rush is good, simple, and it works. Toxic Blade is something I'm very, very used to. 20 energy, 25-second cooldown, you stab your enemy with a Toxic Poison Blade, dealing 1900 nature damage, and your nature damage done against the target is increased by 30% for 9 seconds. This essentially gives you a big damage window, so you want to make sure you're getting as many Envenoms off during your Toxic Blade as possible. This essentially has, it's sort of Kingsbane kind of baked into Toxic Blade, sort of, but not really. It's extra nature damage like it always has been, but it feels that way because you'd always line them up anyway on live. So here with Exsanguinate, 45-second CD, 25 energy, twist your blades in the target's wounds, causing your bleed effects on them to bleed out 100% faster. Now, the cool thing is that bleeds, of course, are now affected by haste, making haste by far the best stat for Assassination, which is really awkward, because I don't think anybody has any haste gear sitting around on live right now, so they're probably re-gearing if they're playing Assassination. But Exsanguinate is really fun, really fun to play, to watch those numbers tick away super quick. Definitely give it a shot if you haven't. In the last row here, we have Poison Bomb, which has made a return. This is significantly improved, though. And Venom and Rupture have a 4% chance per combo point spent to smash a poison vial to target's location, creating a pool of acidic death that deals nature damage over 2 seconds to all enemies. Poison Bomb does a metric ton of damage. It is super strong. And just in general, Poison Bomb is definitely going to be the one you're going to pick most of the time. It's very strong. Here we have Hidden Blades. This is essentially the legendary Cloak effect. We get a stacking damage buff for our next span of knives. It's 20% stacking up to 20 times. So, 20 times 20. I believe that's... is that 400? Yeah. Yeah, 400. Math is hard this morning. So there you've got a ton of extra AoE damage. If you need strong AoE burst, this is pretty strong. It does take a near full 40 seconds to stack up, though. So it's pretty reliable to have it at least once every pull. Then we have Crimson Tempest. This is actually pretty mediocre right now, which is sad, because Crimson Tempest is what I've been missing from Rogue. Your finishing move, it's a finishing move that slashes all enemies within 10 yards, dealing instant damage, and then causing the victims to the victims to bleed for additional damage. This lasts longer per combo point spent. So it starts off at a very low 200 damage plus about 800 over 4 seconds, and then it scales the whole way up to 888 damage plus 2400 or so over 12. For AoE, it's actually pretty strong, but right now with the way that tuning is, Poison Bomb is just better. Because you're going to continue doing that single target damage while also having, a strong amount of damage over 2 seconds. So if Crimson Tempest sees a buff, or if we see an Azurite trait that maybe improves it, Crimson Tempest could pull ahead. But for right now, Poison Bomb is the standout. So what has changed in the Rogue spellbook? To be honest, not a whole lot for Assassination Rogue. Here we have Blind. This is our 2-minute Disorient CD. Will disorient someone for a full minute. Damage will interrupt that effect. You can use this in combat too. It doesn't have an energy cost, which is pretty sweet. Super useful whenever you need to get one mob out of there. You can use it as an extra interrupt. It will, however, drop any dots on the target. So if you just bled up a target, kick it instead, or stun it. Don't blind it. You'll lose all the damage. Blindside, of course, is a talent, so we can skip that. Cheap Shot is only usable in stealth, stuns the target for 4 seconds, and awards 2 combo points. A great opener most of the time whenever you're leveling for sure. Cloak of Shadows is our spell immunity. The bane of every spellcaster out there, provides a moment of magic immunity, instantly removing all harmful spell effects. The cloak lingers, causing you to resist harmful spells for 5 seconds. Being immune to all spells for 5 seconds is crazy. There's a lot of mechanics in dungeons right now where there's a lot of big fire damage coming out, things like that. Cloak of Shadows will clear any debuffs, make you immune to that damage AoE. Super useful. Crimson Vial. Heal yourself for 30% of your max health over 6 seconds. It does cost 30 energy, but if the difference between surviving and dying is 30 energy, take the surviving, because you can do more damage if you stay alive. Detection. Focus intently on trying to detect certain creatures. This will help you see through stealth occasionally. I believe this is actually a glyph from the Order Halls in Legion. Distract throws a distraction. It'll make mobs turn around so you can sap them a little easier, so you can sneak your group by. Really useful whenever you're trying to skip packs in Mythic Plus. Envenom, finishing move that drives your poison blades into the... finishing move that drives your poison blades in deep. Dealing nature damage and increasing your poison application chance by 30%. Damage and duration increase per combo point. You only ever want to use Envenom at 5 combo points when you can. Worst case scenario, 4 combo points is acceptable, but you really want 5 every time. This effect can pandemic, so you can pop it up at 2 seconds, which is great. Typically, though, you don't want to clip your Envenom just because you probably won't have the time to. So keep that in mind. Evasion gives you a 100% dodge chance for 10 seconds on a 2-minute cooldown. Really strong, really useful, can help you tank that boss for those last couple percent if you need to. Fan of Knives, this is our AoE combo point builder. Sprays a Fan of Knives within 10 yards, dealing physical damage and applying your active poisons at their normal rate. If you have a big AoE pool you're walking into, use Fan of Knives, get your poisons up. That'll just help you do extra AoE damage while you're trying to proc a Poison Bomb. It is the best builder in AoE situations 9 times out of 10. Feint now has a 15-second cooldown and an energy cost. You perform an evasive maneuver, you take 40% reduced area of effect damage for 5 seconds. Super powerful here. Super, super powerful. Garrot, this is our typical opener. Garrot, you grow at the enemy, 4284 bleed damage over 18 seconds, silences them for 3 seconds when used from stealth. Again, typically used with Subterfuge, with Mutilate before it. If not, though, definitely leave with this out of stealth if you're taking a different talent. Kick, standard interrupt, 15-second cooldown, nothing special there. Kidney Shot is our stun on a 20-second cooldown, requires combo points. It's a longer stun per combo point spent. Definitely want to use it at 5 because a 6-second stun is an eternity right now. Mutilate is our primary single target builder. It requires 50 energy, which is quite a bit. You attack with both weapons, dealing a total of about 1150 physical damage at the level this character is at, and awards 2 combo points. Again, this is just your primary builder. There's nothing too special here, but this is a pretty hard-hitting ability in general. Pick lock, open up those lock boxes that you have, and open them up for your guild too while you're at it. Why not? Pickpocket, you can pick the target's pocket. It's pretty self-explanatory. There are some items that I've found on pickpocketing, a couple that are kind of mildly amusing, but nothing too special yet. Hopefully we'll see some added, kind of like the Coins of Air were in Legion. Poison Knife, this lets you apply your lethal and non-lethal poisons to a target with a 30-yard range. It does award you a combo point. This is great if there's an ad coming in that maybe you can't hit, but you want to get your poison up anyway, or you need to slow it. This will help you do that. So with our poisons here, we have 3 poisons baseline. We have Deadly Poison, which is your standard lethal poison. 50% chance to poison the enemy for 1400 nature damage over 12 seconds. Subsequent applications of this poison will instantly deal extra damage and extend the duration of Deadly Poison. This does way more damage than your Wound Poison, which is a very little, it's a paltry amount of nature damage. It's like 100 at most. Each strike is a 50% chance to poison the enemy, which deals, again, like 80 nature damage, and reduces all healing received for 12 seconds. This is primarily used in PvP if you need a Mortal Strike. Even then, I think I'd still probably just use Deadly Poison because I want to kill the thing, not just make it unable to heal. Then we have, of course, Crippling Poison. This is our non-lethal poison. It lasts for an hour. Each strike is a 50% chance to poison the enemy, slowing movement speed by 50% for 12 seconds. Great with Poison Knife, just to make sure that you get that snare on something if you need to. So we have Rupture. This is our most important dot that we have. This is a finishing move, tears open the target, making them bleed over time. You want to use it to 5 combo points as much as possible. 4 is acceptable if you need to maintain the buff. It is very, very important you have this up all the time for reasons you'll see in just a minute. Then we have Sap. This is our primary out-of-combat CC. You can sap the target. What it does is it completely incapacitates them. You can't aggro them. You can walk right through them and nothing will happen. Damage will revive that target. This is great whenever you want to skip exactly 1 mob. Or if you need to just sap 1 mob so your group can sneak around a corner because that 1 mob is just slightly too close to that corner you're trying to sneak around. Shadow Step, this will go ahead and make you teleport behind an enemy. Super, super useful, especially whenever you're trying to get yourself up to a spot maybe you can't normally get to, or something like that. In Eye of Ashara, typically what you'll do is you'll have someone go up top for the boat skip. If you're not familiar with that, search it up, it's pretty cool. And you can actually get on a multi-person mount and shadow step up to them. This can be used on a friendly target to jump across the battlefield or something if you would need to. It's pretty neat. Shroud of Concealment, while you're in stealth, you can stealth everyone within 30 yards of you. And it lasts for 15 seconds. You can skip a lot of trash if you need to. Get used to using this, and definitely get prepared to have people accidentally fall out of it because they didn't realize you were moving faster than they were. Sprint, this is our movement speed. 70% extra movement speed for 8 seconds, usable while stealthed. Stealth, of course, is one of our most important things. It conceals you in the shadows until you cancel it, allowing you to stalk enemies without being seen, sneak around, pick their pockets, open up on them with a Mutilate or a Garrot, whatever you want to do. Super strong, super powerful. Core of the class. Without it, we'd be nothing. Toxic Blade is a talent, so we can skip that. Tricks of the Trade redirects all threat you cause to the targeted party or raid member, beginning with your next damaging attack within the next 30 seconds and lasting for 6 seconds. Tricks of the Trade needs to be keybound, definitely, and it's something you're going to be using a lot. There's a lot of really good Tricks of the Trade macros out there that you can set to one specific person, and then just hit that keybind so you don't have to target anybody, which is cumbersome. Definitely look for those around. I believe they're on the Wowhead guides under the macros, if that section is still there. Then we have Vanish. This lets you go back into stealth during combat, or get out of combat and avoid a wipe, something like that. This is also a DPS cooldown, as Assassination and Subtlety, and Combat. Not Combat, Outlaw. It's Outlaw now. Vanish is great for, you know, If you get aggro, vanishing will sometimes save your life. Not all the time, but it can help. But if you got aggro, you should have tricked your tank instead. Vendetta is our primary DPS cooldown. This marks an enemy for death for 20 seconds, increasing the damage of your abilities and auto attacks that you deal to the target by 30%, and makes the target visible to you even through concealments such as stealth and invisibility. This also generates energy over 6 seconds. So you want to make sure you are down, 60 energy over 3 seconds, not 6 seconds. You definitely want to make sure that you do not use this while you're at full energy, or you will end up wasting some of it, which is a big no-no. Vendetta is, again, your only real DPS cooldown. Fleet-footed, we just always move 15% faster, and we take reduced fall damage. Definitely great, especially when paired with a panda. You can fall a really, really far distance and not get hurt. Our mastery is Potent Assassin. This just increases our poison and bleed damage. Mastery is pretty solid for us. I'm not sure how the scaling is at the moment, but in general, mastery is super strong. Seal Fate. When you critically strike with a melee attack that generates combo points, you gain an additional combo point per critical strike. This is absolutely imperative that you pay attention to your crit rate and make sure you have enough crit. There isn't really a specific target as far as how much crit you want. But you just want to make sure you have enough that you feel comfortable with your generation and with your energy gen. It kind of fluctuates the whole way up. For more information on how much you should have of stats and what stats are the most important for you, definitely sim your character for sure, but also check out the Ravenholt Discord. They have a lot of good information over there. Then we have Venomous Wounds. This is our passive. You regain 7 energy each time your Garrot, Rupture, or Internal Bleeding deal bleed damage to a poison target. If an enemy dies while affected by your Rupture, you regain energy based on its remaining duration. Now, Venomous Wounds is the entire reason that you need to make sure you always have Rupture up, and you always have a Garrot active when possible. Garrot's cooldown is shorter than its duration, I do believe. Yeah, Garrot only has a 6-second cooldown, but lasts 18 seconds. So you have no excuse not to have up both a Garrot and a Rupture. They are your top priorities to maintain, because of Venomous Wounds giving you that energy generation back. Now, because whenever everything ticks now, because bleeds are hasted now, that makes haste also much more powerful for your energy generation than it previously was. So definitely pay very much attention to your haste level and get to where you're comfortable with it. Now, as far as Rogue goes, for Mythic Plus, Rogue is in a great place. Outlaw is incredibly strong. It has solid AoE and good single target. Assassination is okay on AoE. It definitely lacks a little bit still, even though it did get that buff to Poison Bomb if you take the talent. But in general, Assassination is going to be primarily a single target build, with some, pretty solid AoE when you need it. I don't see any real problems for Assassination Rogue with the dungeons so far. They all actually look pretty good. So, hopefully you enjoyed today's video. Hopefully you found it informative. If you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't like it, dislike it. Leave some comments. Tell me how this video was, what you agree with, what you don't agree with. If you have some more experience with Rogue than I do, which is very possible, definitely leave your thoughts. I want to hear them. I love having discussions with you guys. It's a lot of fun. Be sure you sub if you haven't already, and check out my Patreon if you want to. It's there just in case. Anyway, thanks for checking in today, guys. I will catch you next time. See ya!